Hello friends, my name is Benjamin Seda and today I'm going to be showing you how I edit my Instagram photos. A lot of you guys probably know me from Instagram considering I have more Instagram followers than YouTube subscribers, but I thought I would show you guys sort of how I edit my photos, how I set up the colors, how I edit, the little details. Editing is the fun part to me, so I guess I'll show you guys, bring you along the way on how I edit my photos to achieve the effect. I do take all of my pictures on a DSLR mirrorless camera, and that does make a difference. Now, if you're taking photos on iPhone, you can definitely still edit using all of the apps I use here, but you're gonna get a higher picture quality if you're using a DSLR, especially if you're using the raw images, because you can edit the pictures and colors, whatever, that's a lot. The two apps I use are Lightroom and I use Visco. So let's go into Lightroom first, because that's how I always edit my photos. And we start off in Lightroom. Okay, so we have this picture of me here, and this picture is a pretty good one if you ask me. It has pretty good composition. We have some cool colors. We have the yellow sign in front. We have the greens in the background. We have some browns. This is a pretty good photo to edit to show you sort of what I do. So the first thing I do is I go ahead and I go into the lighting. I like my pictures to have a lot of contrast because I kind of like that chromatic, like heavy look. Really just a stylistic preference, whichever style you like most. So I like to add a little more contrast. See how the color is sharper and stronger, and I like to add a lot of contrast. So I'll go about there for now. We can change it a little bit depending on how the colors come out. So you see the highlights here. There's not many highlights here. The sun is in the back top left of the picture. So we can bump up the highlights a little bit just because there's slight highlights on my face, you can tell, and there's slight highlights in the top back left of the photo. We can bump that up a little bit. If you look at my feed on Instagram, there's a lot of whites and highlights in there. It's sort of like a mix of whites. Sometimes there's like a light off-white blue in there and some oranges. So the highlights will be very helpful. For the shadows are pretty good on this, man. I don't think there's much left to do. I'm actually gonna lower the shadows just a tad because you'll see by the trees over in this area and across my body, you'll see the shadows are making a bit of a difference, and it looks cooler to have a little bit of darkness in there to sort of make the composition better, make the way the lighting comes across. This was taken at around 7 p.m., so after, or 7:30 p.m., so the sunset was coming down already, so there wasn't much lighting. So it'll be cooler to add a moodier tone by lowering the shadows here. The whites, you'll notice I'm wearing a shirt that's kind of white. This is the shirt I was wearing in the photo. I actually just took the photo right before we did this. So I'm going to boost up the whites a little bit just because I have whites all over my feed, and the whites make it easier to have all of the colors across all of my pictures on my Instagram feed sort of together and matching. I like having sort of slightly heavy whites, which is why I put up the highlights. So we'll bump up the whites. And I'm going to go ahead every time I'm editing something, I'm going to show you the drastic change so you get a feel for what I'm actually changing. So we'll up the whites a little bit. It'll help brighten up my face, brighten up my shirt and the background a little bit where the sun is hitting. And again, I sort of like a little bit of a heavier, more dramatic edit on my photos in terms of the color and lighting. If that's not your style, if you want something more minimal, then you wouldn't do it as drastically as I am. The blacks we can leave alone. I might lower it a little bit just because I'm wearing black, so it adds more to the mood and it helps me stand out without having to boost the contrast too much. I usually don't touch the exposure because it's very quick. You can very quickly blow the picture out. So the colors, this is one of the most important things. So you'll see I'll go up here on the mix button. Now, I fucking hate having greens in my photos. Greens are really hard to match across an Instagram feed, and you'll notice if you go on my profile, all of the greens actually look like burnt oranges or more yellowish. So I'm going to go to the greens here, and I'm just going to turn the hue all the way to the left so it's more orange, because the green is really hard to match and it's annoying, and I don't like greens in my photos. We'll even lower the saturation a little bit, lower the saturation a bit, and the luminance we will... Should we darken it up or should we lighten it up? We will lighten it up a little bit and drop the saturation. That's much better. Actually, I'm debating whether I want to brighten the greens or if I want to darken them. Let's darken them a little bit because we have the greens sort of up top behind me. It's light and yellowy, and I'm afraid when I change this yellow of this sign, it's going to be too much, so we'll just darken them. And lower the saturation on it. Okay, let's go to the yellow. And now that the greens are very yellowish, it's gonna make it easier, and you'll see they actually get picked up by the yellow coloring that I do. So here, you'll see what I'm messing with is up here. So I like having these sort of darker orange, like burnt oranges for the greens. So I'm gonna put the hue down quite a bit, not all the way, because then it looks too dramatic and it looks sort of fake. So we'll bring it down quite dramatically though, because like I said, I really hate the greens. And I do have this sort of burnt orange aesthetic across a lot of my photos, especially because, you know, I take pictures in woodsy areas, not so many urban pics. So having the darker burnt orange is easier for me to match across photos, and I don't have to compare greens. The saturation, we'll actually boost up the saturation a little bit because I'm really digging that orange we're getting in the back. Not too much though, because if we do it, it looks neon and it looks really fake. So we'll leave the saturation alone for the most part. The luminance, you'll see the luminance really changes how it looks. So we're gonna put the luminance up a little bit so it gets a little bit brighter, and that should be pretty good there. Wow, I'm actually really liking how this is coming out. But you'll see now my skin tone is starting to match that luminance a little bit, so we'll change that up. In terms of other colors, there's not much else. There's a little bit of blues in here from that you can see on the street. You'll see when I change it up, you see the blues coming. That's the reflection of the sky actually from the sun. So we can change up the blues a little bit. We can lower them slightly. We'll desaturate them a little bit because the oranges are pretty strong in this, so it makes more sense to not have the blues as strong, because the oranges and blues, especially the darker blues, can clash a little bit. Okay, we'll go here. Now, I like to mess with the vibrance a little bit. I like to put it up just because I like having that vibrance, for lack of a better word, on my photos from all the colors. So we can put that up a little bit just to make the colors a little more interesting and give it a little more life. Put that up just a tad. Perfect. I don't touch the saturation of the tints usually, or the temperature. I'll touch up the temperature occasionally, but what that does is really it just makes it either more orange or more blue. In this case, if we wanted to touch the temperature, we would make it slightly more orange, but we don't really need to do that. We'll go to effects. The clarity is important because with the clarity, we can change sort of how harsh and how clear everything looks. So if I put the clarity up, you'll see everything looks super dark and clear. I usually don't put the overall clarity up that much. I usually edit clarity specifically. So I put the clarity up a little bit so everything looks a little sharper. I don't think we need a vignette for this pic, man. We'll do very slight. The vignette is really just how the darkness around the edges of the photo. Sometimes it can look good. For this photo, actually, it looks like it would work a little bit. So we'll just put it slightly, maybe like this. So we have a little darker edges. So it makes the colors sort of emerge out of the darkness on the sides. And then come over here to details. We can put the sharpness up again. And the sharpness, what it does is it just enhances, or not enhances, it makes the pixels and the lines in your images look sharper. So we'll put the sharpness up a little bit, not too much. And then for the noise reduction, you'll notice the noise reduction, the effect on the skin. So you notice if I zoom in on my face, I have some razor cuts, some pimples. Looks like I even got some leftover lunch on my lip there. I'm kidding. But if we put the noise reduction up, you'll see I almost look inhuman. So we'll go all the way. And it removes almost all the noise. I look like a fucking clay man. So we don't want it all the way. We want it just a little bit. What this also does is it doesn't only smooth your face and your body, like your skin, but it smooths a lot of the edges in the photo. I don't use Facetune, and I don't love editing my face that much just because it's like, you know, I'm going to let it rock. And when you start editing your face more and more and getting into the little details, it just becomes super meticulous and a little boring and monotonous. So I'm like, whatever. Put the noise reduction up just a little bit just so it makes the skin smoother and we get some of the smoothness across the lines, especially with these colors we got going here. Another important thing that needs to be done that I should have done first is if you go to this little crop tool, you hit the straighten at the bottom, and what it'll do is it'll straighten your photo out. So This is how it's not straightened. This photo is taken pretty straight on. My photographer did a pretty good job. Here, if you hit the crop button and then you go to straighten, it'll straighten the image out just a bit by chopping some of the edges. You see it chopped a little bit. Honestly, we can go do that here. One thing we can do in effects here, which I do sometimes, which I like the cyan, like really light sky blues in my photos. So I usually will try and split tone a little bit of blue into my picture. You'll notice if you look into my pictures very closely, I'll go into the highlights and I'll try and insert a little bit of blues in there. Just because I kind of like it, especially when you have that burnt orangey look. When you have a little bit of sky blue in there, it looks cool. So you see if I go up too much, I look too blue, but we want just a touch. Because a lot of my photos in my feed also have this little bit of a blue tinge. So just do like, that's about good. You notice if I go down, it's all brown and drab. But I do like having that little bit of blue in there, so we'll pull it up to about 6. And since, like I said, it's white, I did think I overkilled a bit, so we'll just do about there. Maybe even a bit lower. Boom, perfect. So this is pretty much it. The only other thing that I'll do from time to time, which I may not need to do, we'll check it out, is I'll make selective edits on the photo. So I'll go in and I'll enhance maybe my shirt or my jacket if I want it to really pop, or if I want the details of it to pop. So we'll go in here and we will do a selective edit of my jewelry here, my bracelets, just so we get those little details to pop. I love jewelry, I love accessories, and I like for them to pop in my photos. So we will go ahead with selective. I kind of did overkill here. Don't need that on my shirt. Go back this way, go over here, get my bracelets, my rings, and I'm doing it kind of messy because I don't care that much when it comes to the photos. You can get super, super meticulous and on top of, no, now I'm drawing all over, no. Okay, let's go here, let's get off my hand, go back, draw up the bracelet, and then what we can do is we can up the clarity, and you'll see upping the clarity immediately makes them pop way more. So we up the clarity, up the sharpness, so you see them and you see the details way more. And then we can up the contrast, and you'll see how it makes them just pop way more. And that's just what I like to do because, man, I fucking love accessories. I think they can make an outfit go from looking very basic and generic to totally different. And I like the design on this shirt that I'm wearing. It's sort of like an acid burn with these cool little designs over it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to highlight the shirt, and I'm going to pull up the clarity and the contrast on it so it pops more inside of my jacket and my outfit. So we'll go here, and I'm being a little generous here. We don't need to get my blazer. We'll just erase that. Boom. You'll see if I up the clarity, it sort of highlights it a lot more. It increases the drama of it, so I'm just gonna blow the clarity out. When it comes to clarity and on details, especially clothing and my accessories, I'm very aggressive with it. But that's just like how I like my pictures. A lot of my photos are fashion photography. I care more about putting the outfit together and sort of the art form of playing with the outfit and the details, so that's why I put mine up so much. So that looks pretty good to me. And I'm gonna bring up the shoe a little bit too, just because it's white and it helps. That looks pretty good to me. I could mess with the glasses and my hair a little bit. We can add a little more texture to my hair. My hair is crazy and long. I almost don't recognize myself in these pictures, but we'll see how it looks if I add some texture to it. Sometimes it looks good, sometimes it doesn't. It really just depends on the photo. If we add clarity, it's gonna make it look sharper like that. So let's see. I actually kind of like it. I think it looks kind of dope. So I'm actually gonna put it up even more because I'm crazy. And like I said, I like having these sort of dramatic details standing out. I don't like editing my face or my skin too much, but man, like when it comes to the details, this is where I like having the fun, because then you see the outfit really come alive and come together. So now you can see, and we can finish off the belt. I almost forgot about the belt. So we'll go here and we'll just draw on the belt so it's the same details as. And now what we can do is we can export this photo. I have everything that I basically want out of this photo. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, I need to bring the vignette more. So now I'm gonna put it more. I try not to get too obsessive when I edit these pictures. And what I am gonna do now is I'm gonna actually up the exposure just a tad, because against the white background, you do want it to pop a little bit more. So that's just the slightest bit. And now we're ready to export this baby and put it into Visco. One photo successfully saved to camera roll. So now we can go into Visco. Bring this photo in there, import it in. Now, with every photo, almost every photo, I'd say 95% of the photos, by this point, I just go and put in one of the chromatic filters in Visco, because like I said, I like my pictures, especially my person, my outfit and stuff, to look very dramatic and emphasized. That's just sort of the photographic style I like in my photos. So I like putting the chromatic filter on, which is like C1, C2, etc. 95% of the time I'll put on one of the chromatic filters. Sometimes I'll play with a different filter, but sometimes, honestly, with this photo, I could get away with just posting this like this. I kind of might end up posting it without a Visco filter, but we're gonna play with them and see how they enhance the photo. Sometimes you edit a photo in Lightroom so well that you're like, fuck it, I'm just gonna post it like this. So this one looks pretty badass. C2, it's a little too blown out. This one actually almost matches my colors. You see, it's just making me look more chromatic, and it sort of dramatizes the pictures. This is playing with the oranges and the yellows, and it does add a little bit of a blue tint too. So C3, C4. This is a good one, man. C4 is like, if you have a photo and you don't know what to put on it, C4 on Visco, one of the best fucking things. It just normalizes. It's sort of like meshes all the colors into like this almost like purplish, brownish. It definitely desaturates a lot of the colors in the photo though. Let's not go with that one. C5, C6. Ooh, C6 looks good. C7, C9. I like C6, and C1's good, man. C3, okay. I think we're gonna go with C1 or C6. Let's see how they look. Just a tad too, man, because this picture's already, the colors came out really nice. We had great colors to play with, so I don't want to mess with it too much, but I think C6 is gonna win. Let's see, C1. C1 adds more of that drama and that darkness and the contrast, but I think C6 is better because we have all of that with the photo already. So we're gonna go with C6. We're gonna put just a little bit of this filter, not too much. This is the best thing about Visco. You can edit how much of the filter you want. So we'll go here like this, boom. And you'll see if I hold down, you'll see the huge difference in the photo. It's not that big. The colors just look a little more blended together nicely. You can save this to camera roll, and boom, we have it saved. And that's it. This is what the photo looked like before, and this is what the photo looked like afterwards. If you like how I edit my photos, then you'll like looking at them and engaging with them on Instagram. So make sure you follow me on Instagram at Benjamin Seda. This photo should be up there by the time you're seeing this. You probably came because I told you how I edited this photo is in a video. But that's it, guys. Make sure you follow me on Instagram. And if you're interested in hearing more from me, I highly recommend you check out my newsletter, Favorite Finds Friday. Every Friday, I send you a list of my favorite finds of the week. It could be a short essay I'm reading. It could be the book I'm reading, the apps I'm using to edit my photos. It could be a funny YouTube video I'm watching. It's just a quick, brief email roundabout of all of the things I found that week that were funny, productive, and useful. So if you like that, make sure you sign up for my newsletter below. And let me know what else you guys want to see from me on this channel. I know we've been bouncing around quite a bit, but this video was fun. I liked it. It probably came out longer than I thought it'd be. But that's it for today, guys. Thank you very much. Like, subscribe, turn on post notifications on, subscribe. Most of you who watch these aren't subscribed. I think like 70%. So make sure you subscribe. I'll see you guys very soon. When it hurts, just